The United States of America, land of freedom, where every year millions of families answer the vacation call of the open road. 48 different states from which to choose, each with its own particular beauty and charm. Down where the blue Atlantic rolls against warm white sands and palm-fringed shores lies the state of South Carolina. 28th in size, 27th in population, but second to none in wealth of interest and warmth of hospitality. Hospitality that welcomes the motorist with a network of fine modern highways reaching into every corner of the state. When you mention the South, most people think of cotton. In South Carolina, the great cotton era began in the early 1800s. Cotton picking scenes like this were as familiar then as they are now. But planters of those days would look with astonishment at King Cotton's empire today. Land devoted to cotton has been cut in half, but scientific farming produces far more to the acre. And out in the fields, we begin to see such strange, futuristic monsters as this. Perfection of the mechanical cotton picker, long an inventor's dream, may have as profound an effect on cotton growing as the coming of the cotton gin 150 years ago. Another crop with a colorful history is tobacco, first used by the Indians and introduced to Europe by Sir Walter Raleigh. Grown by early South Carolina planters, tobacco was almost forgotten during the booming cotton era of the 1800s. But today, South Carolina is one of the nation's leading tobacco states. In early fall, big markets like this one in Darlington hum with activity as buyers judge the golden leaf and make the bids which put well-earned money into the pockets of tobacco growers. Attacking from the air, skilled pilots destroy insect pests with death-dealing dust, protecting crops at a saving in both time and money. The roaring flamethrower is here put to novel use to harvest early potatoes. To dig the potatoes buried in the ground, the heavy foliage of the plants must first be destroyed. Within a few minutes after passing through the searing heat of the flamethrower, the leaves begin to wilt, and within a short time, the potato digger can do its job with little interference from the growing plants. Fertile soil, rich in iodine and other minerals, makes the low country ideal for the growing of big, tasty onions, crisp green cucumbers, beets and other truck crops of many different kinds. It seems as though the big sweet cantaloupes and the famous South Carolina watermelons get an extra special flavor from the rich sandy soil of the coastal region. Picked at their prime, they are rushed by fast trucks and trains to markets all over Eastern America. At the peak of the season, folks down here get together for the annual Hampton Watermelon Festival to celebrate the harvest and sample the crop. Diversity is the agricultural credo of the New South. New rust-resistant grains and some of the world's finest hybrid seed corn are among the contributions which South Carolina growers have made to better farming everywhere in America. Plenty of good feed and the development of year-round pasture land means better dairy farming and beef cattle production. New pasture techniques provide rich grazing like this even in the middle of winter. Springtime in the upcountry finds more strange-looking monsters at work. Peach growers employ these big power sprayers which handle 2 rows of trees at a time. When you visit the peach country in blossom time, be sure to put color film in your camera. If you haven't yet seen South Carolina's peach blossoms, chances are that you have eaten the luscious fruit. For these big, juicy peaches travel to as many as 38 states in the East and Middle West. Since the first carload shipped less than 30 years ago, the crop has grown to multi-million-dollar size and made South Carolina the biggest shipper of fresh peaches in the world. And the great seaport of Charleston can start it on its way to market anywhere in the world. Here today, as in centuries past, trade flows from shore to ship and ship to shore. But enough of this industry and trade. After all, we're on vacation. As we drive into Charleston across the magnificent double span of the Cooper River Bridge, we find ourselves in South Carolina's oldest city, a modern American city which still proudly preserves the beauty and traditions of its earlier days. Even busy King Street, part of the shopping center, wears the architectural raiment of yesterday, while some of the quiet, tree-shaded streets of the older part of the city transport us all the way back to the charm of colonial days. A favorite example for visitors is this gaily painted block called Rainbow Row, with its interesting old doorways, its intriguing ironwork, and the multicolored pattern of its roofs and gables and chimneys against the sky. You can enjoy seeing Charleston by automobile, but the leisurely atmosphere of the older town seems to call for a slower pace. You can let your driver take you down Palmetto-lined East Battery with its palatial homes and gardens and let you off where the city juts into the bay. Here, Charlestonians will tell you, is where the Ashley and the Cooper Rivers meet to form the Atlantic Ocean. Strolling back, you'll pass scores of typical Charleston homes whose shaded piazzas and galleries always face their own walled-in gardens. You'll find some of the historic homes open to visitors, veritable museums of the city's past. Wherever you go, you'll see the wrought ironwork for which Charleston is famous. Balconies, stairways, elaborate gates and iron fences. The work of artists and craftsmen celebrated for the intricacy and delicacy of their designs. One of the most beautifully executed examples is the famous sword gates, made about the year 1820. Now restored, this building was originally the Dock Street Theater, opened in 1736, and later the Planters Hotel, a celebrated social center of the past century. From the wrought iron balcony, we see the towering octagonal steeple of St. Philip's Church. One of the outstanding landmarks of the city, the steeple once held a light to guide mariners approaching from the sea. Charleston's beautiful churches of all denominations are far too many to mention, but one of the oldest is Venerable St. Michael's. Another towering landmark on the skyline of Charleston, its great white steeple rises to a height of 182 feet. The four-faced clock high in the tower has kept time for the city's inhabitants since 1764. Of Charleston's many distinguished schools and colleges, probably the best known is the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina, where cadets receive complete military as well as academic training. Not far from the Citadel is Hampton Park, which springtime turns into a thrilling riot of bloom. Perhaps of the many things for which Charleston is known, the gardens are most famous of all. Scores of them are hidden away behind vine-clad walls or in the beautifully landscaped grounds of private homes. But in seasons when their beauty is at its height, many gardens are made accessible by their owners to garden lovers and garden club members who come to visit from all over the nation. Within easy driving distance outside of Charleston are many of the oldest and most beautiful gardens in America. It was back in 1843 that the first azaleas brought from the Orient were planted here. Today, masses of bloom in endless variety line the winding walks and reflect in the quiet lagoons. The oldest landscaped gardens in America are those of Middleton Place, another of the great colonial estates on the banks of the Ashley River. Here, formal design and the 18th century tradition blends with the natural beauty of the Carolina Low Country. The beauty of ancient trees, infinite variety of shrubs and flowers, an old rice mill mirrored in blue water, azure butterfly lakes set in emerald lawns, vistas of form and color that make words seem futile.
The whisper of the paddle singing soft and low, south in Carolina. The rhythm of the paddles where the cypress grow, south in Carolina. The shady waters where the ripples flow, the sun-kissed banks where sweet azaleas grow. The rhythm of the paddles makes me long to go south to Carolina.
South to Carolina. Yes, drifting through this lovely labyrinth of nature, our camera journey seems far too brief. But all of South Carolina invites you to come back again, in person, for a longer visit. The mountains and the lakes and the sea, the old and the new, the peaceful quiet of gardens like this, with stately moss-hung trees moving majestically above you and shimmering reflections below. All these will be yours to enjoy when you come
South to Carolina.